Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode, a Twinnicide episode, episode 5 of the Twins at Ringside Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Lovely from the island of old school. You always hear the jam from the 90s and 80s coming from the boats when you come in. I'm Joe Panther the Third, and this is my lovely sister.
I am the sidekick, Miss Sassy, here with Twins at Ringside. How y'all doing?
Never a dull moment with the Twins. So we have an awesome guest today, Sassy. Do you want to introduce him?
Yes, I would love to. So we have with us a really amazing promoter, Mr. Kevin Nasta, and I would love for Kevin to tell us about his promotion. That's like we're excited to hear all about what you got going on.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could start. I'm the founder and president of Damage 365 Promotions. I originally started the wrestling side of the promotions in 2012. I started the parent company of Damage Athletics back in 1991, and been taking a couple of different looks over the years, from starting off as a website designer for local sports teams and sports jersey logo designs and things like that. It evolved into sponsorships and sports teams, and eventually became what it is today in 2012, which is a talent agency for pro wrestling, UFC, MMA, cinematic, and TV universe celebrities. And yeah, I mean that's where we are now. I mean, me just traveling all over the United States, representing people, bringing them to meet and greets for the general public to meet their heroes.
Wow. It sounds like
That's
fun.
cool.
Like you're that guy that brings everybody together to meet someone that they loved and watched as a child. Like, what does it feel like to see that kid or young adult get a chance to meet their hero? What is it like? What does that feel like to you?
I mean, the best way I can explain it is just kind of just remember that moment where you were actually able to meet somebody that you looked up to or admired, whether it was a family member or a celebrity. It's a very gratifying feeling when you're sitting at the table and well, most cases, standing at the table. I don't really sit, and just see the looks on their face and the interaction, and yeah, and there's even times where people come to the table and they're there to meet the person on behalf of somebody else. I've had examples where a fan came up to the table to meet Eric Bischoff, and he was doing it because his father loved Eric Bischoff, and Eric was so gracious. He was like, "Really?" He was like, "You know what? Put your dad on FaceTime right now." And he called him, put him on. Eric had a nice long conversation with the guy, signed an autograph to him, and it made the guy wasn't even there, and it made his day.
That's so nice. There's nothing like meeting your heroes at the end of the day. Do you ever get like starstruck meeting people that may have been your heroes growing up?
Um, it's funny because I don't really get starstruck. The only time that I really kind of get that I got I don't even know how to explain it. I guess kind of like goofy,
Okay.
like stuttering, kind of like goofiness. Was former WWE diva Caitlyn. Um,
Oh.
I I my wife makes fun of me all the time because I love Caitlyn when she was wrestling in WWE, and then I had a fellow promoter bring her in back in 2016 to a show in New Jersey, and I was working the show, and I went over to my partners that were helping me, and I said, "Yeah," I said, "Here's the envelopes. I'll be right back." And they're like, "Where the hell you going?" And I'm like, "I'm getting online to go meet Caitlyn." I grabbed my wife. I'm like, "Let's go." And she's like, "Why are you bringing me?" I said, "Somebody's got to take the picture." So so we went over there, and I waited online. I didn't pull the whole I'm a promoter card, so let me go first to cut everybody. So I waited online, And I get to the table, and I must have. It felt like 5 minutes, but it was probably only like 10 seconds. I stood there like with this really dumb look on my face, just like, and then my mic kept like shoulder blocking me in the back, like go dummy, like go. So I was like, oh, I'm a big fan. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Admire your work. Like, I didn't know what to say. It was just such stupidity. And she's like, "You want to take a picture?" I was like, "Yeah." Like that's the whole purpose I went there. And I was acting like I didn't know I wanted to do that. So took the picture, and that was okay. And then years later, it was actually last year in Texas at WrestleCon. She was on the other side of the curtain that we were on. I had my group, and then she was on the other side of the curtain. So I stuck my head through to see my friend who brought her in, and she's literally like 6 inches from my face when I stuck her through the curtain. And I was just like, oh crap. So I went around and introduced myself, and I told her the story. She thought it was hilarious. We got a good laugh out of it. Took another updated photo. But I can honestly say that was probably the only time, right now, as of yet. If I meet Jennifer Love Hewitt or Nev Campbell sometime down the future, I might, start goofing around, my facial expressions and drooling and stuttering and all that fun stuff. But that's probably the only ones that will really bring the dumbness. Yeah, I mean, look, it happened. I'm watching a show called Lincoln Lawyer, and Nev Campbell's in it, and I just sit there, and my wife's like, "You knock it off," like, and I'm like, "Oh, but when Mark Warburg is on the freaking screen, you're like, oh my god, he's so hot, he's so hot." I'm like, I do it, and it's funny,
She never ages. She's somehow, she must be an alien, because if you see her now, she still has that pointy chin and that little short mushroom black hair. It's like she has to be some kind of alien or cybernetics. Like, come on.
Well, there's a big difference. Like I looked her up last night, and I'm like, how old is she? I'm like, she's got to be my age. I'm like, so I looked it up. She's 49. I'm like, all right. I'm like, how the hell does she still look good? And I look like crap. And I said, we're the same age. And then like Jennifer Love Hewitt, I think she's like 44. And then I looked up Lacey Chabert, and I'm like, she's 40, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm ancient.
And they've all aged about 15 total minutes between all of them. Like,
and
it's very
kids now. Nev Campbell has 2 daughters, I think. And it's like
I aged a decade in like a week.
Right, same.
It's sad. Yeah. So like Danica McKellar, she's my age too. Grew up watching the Wonder Years. I was like, oh my god, Winnie's so hot, and and then she's still pretty as hell. And then I'm like she's never changed. She just went from like a 10-year-old on TV to like a super hot 25-year-old, and just never got older after that.
Not for a second. She was just not recently, probably in the last few years, but she was on Impractical Jokers. And when they put her on, I was like, this woman is like, she's literally the same age that she was in like the 90s.
People make fun of it. I'm a big Halloween buff, and I'm a huge Christmas buff. And I watch like all the Hallmark Christmas shows and Lifetime shows. And people are like, how the hell do you watch that crap? It's the same story, which it is. It's, the girl meets the guy after all these years. They get into a fight, and at the end they fall in love. We all know the same crap. But it's Candace Cameron, Lacey Chabert, and Danica McKellar. I don't need to say anything more.
How do you not love that? That's holiday. That's spirit right there. That's nostalgia, like full on nostalgia right there. I love that.
I'm ready to close the pool in 3 weeks and put my Halloween decorations on.
I am so with you with the Halloween thing. I say it all the time. My wife wants to kill me, but I say Halloween starts on August 1st and it goes until October 31st. November 1st starts Thanksgiving, and then the day after Thanksgiving starts Christmas. Like that's just the way it goes.
At least you give Thanksgiving a shot. I mean, other than the turkey being on the table, my house is pretty much Christmas.
I have my jack-o'-lanterns and my pumpkins all stay up until after Thanksgiving. I just kind of transition them to Thanksgiving-ish, and to be honest, a lot of times I just put Santa hats on them for Christmas.
That's what I do. I turn them around, so the face is a face. Now it just looks like a pumpkin, and then I put a Santa hat on.
I love that.
Perfect. All my skulls. I have a curio cabinet downstairs just full of skulls, and I literally went on Amazon and I bought pet Christmas hats. So they're little Christmas hats with the strap, and I put them on all the skeleton heads.
That was
There you
so
go,
smart.
Angela. There you go.
That was so
I thought of
smart.
this. If I had a pool in my backyard, you close it around August, get the tarp on the top of it, make it look like it's red water, and put the skeletons, set up the skeleton, all the chairs around the pool, and you just put a red light out there.
Do you own a pool?
No.
I will. We have one coming soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you own a pool, like it all sounds fun, like what you just said, sounds great. And then you own a pool and you're like, hell no, am I doing that? These things are enough problems when they're open.
It's a pain in the neck to have a pool.
It's like owning a boat. It's like owning a boat. It's like the best thing you ever bought and the worst thing you ever bought.
It's a suction for money.
Yeah.
It literally is. It literally is. Like you fill up the pool and I'm just like watching myself go broke. I'm just like every drop. The water levels never stay right. Then it rains for 3 days. Your pool's overflowing, and there's not enough chlorine. There's not enough this. Got to put shock in it. It's ridiculous. But it's great at the same time. It's 1,000 degrees outside. You go in the pool and you're like, oh, this is the life. Then you go to close the pool and you're like, this sucks.
No. Home ownership, am I right?
That's exactly it. Like, can't wait to buy a house, and you buy a house, and you're like, what was I?
This is a pit of money, and I'm in despair.
Give my parents back a chance.
Being an adult is very overrated, honestly.
Hear this,
I
kids?
I literally have a shirt that says adulting, and it has the 5 stars, and it has the 1 star colored in, and underneath it says highly do not recommend.
Facts. I'm so with that.
So, with you being like a booker for Goddesses of War, do you ever like sit back and think, who would I want on a roster? Is there a dream indie roster that you would like to put together, that wrestlers that you have not had in Goddesses yet, that you would love to have there?
I mean, if I had Elon Musk's payroll, it'd be a great roster that I would love to put together. But I'm more of a Dollar Tree, so I have to keep within a budget. But at the same time, it has to be entertaining. So I can't just put 10 random people on a card and run a show, and then it's got to make sense. We're very big on storylines. We'll even take storylines that happen in other companies and bring them to us, adapt it so they can carry it to another company. We just had a show earlier this month where 2 girls, Journey Burke and Harleen Lopez, had their 3rd match across the 3 different companies. Whether they go for another one somewhere else, I don't know, but this was the tiebreaker, so wherever they go after that. But who does stuff like that? No one. They don't do stuff like that. People in independent wrestling kind of have this mentality that they're like Vince McMahon from the 80s, where they're the only the show in town and nobody else exists. Even though back then the NWA, AWA, WCCW, and all these other companies ran, but nobody knew about them unless you got Pro Wrestling Illustrated in the mail every other month. So other than that, WWF fans didn't know they existed. Because that's the way Vince portrayed wrestling. They were only show in town. Now with social media, there's wrestling on every freaking day. There's independent wrestling every weekend somewhere. I mean, New Jersey alone, there's probably like 30 companies, and some buildings run 3 shows a week, every month, and it's a little oversaturated. It's overkill, but there's plenty of pie to go around from everybody, as long as it's being done the right way and the moral way, proper ethics, which is not always the case in New York and New Jersey. But we practice what we preach. So we're going to run a company, which we are. It's a women's company, all women. There's women in the ring performing. There's women referees. All our ring announcers, our broadcasters, commentators, ticket takers, backstage correspondent, our anthem singer, our podcast coverage, they're all women.
I love that.
And we're the only company left in the United States doing it. Vision Pro Wrestling in Texas now does men's matches and intergender. Um, Women of Wrestling in California actually has male commentators and other men in the back doing stuff. So like other than me booking, I don't really get involved. I sit in the corner during shows. Sometimes you'll see me run to the ring to grab somebody's ring gear or to get take the belt, get back the belt, stuff like that. But this is a women's show. The guys are working for the women. So that's what it is. Like male security, ring crew. The girls take their coats off, throw it in the ring, take their belt off, put it down. One guy goes over and grabs all that stuff, brings it to the back. That's what we do. It's all about the empowerment of women's wrestling, but not just women wrestlers, but women in the wrestling industry, giving everybody a shot to do something. We've had multiple ring announcers work for us. We've had multiple commentators work for us. We've had a couple of different backstage correspondents. We've had a couple of different photographers. So, we rotated in and out so everybody has a little flexibility, because if, someone's not able to do the show, I could go to somebody else and say, hey, can you cover for them? They're like, oh, yeah. So it's not just throwing somebody to the wolves with no experience. Everybody's getting a little experience of doing a little bit of everything. And we're trying to build our roster. We're trying to promote women that aren't on every single person's roster. I can easily book a show booking the same 10 to 15 girls that wrestle everywhere in New York and New Jersey. Easy. Easy to say it, not easy to do it, because they're booked every single weekend somewhere. But if I'm doing that, what separates us from everybody else? Nothing. It's the same people. You can go to a match on Friday and the next week go to a match on Saturday. You're going to see the same thing because it's the same talent.
Right.
So we like promoting different people. Our last show, half the roster that was on that show were making their debuts. This month we have 4 matches that are going on because it's part of a doubleheader on September 16th in Aberdeen, New Jersey at the Highline Arena. We're doing a double show. Goddesses of War goes first. Titan Enterprises going second. The show is called Blades of Glory. We have 4 women's matches at the beginning, and out of that 4, so you got 8 women, 4 of them are making their debuts. So it's good. It's good for the wrestling business. It helps them get a little exposure because the Northeast, you get a little bit more exposure, a little more. The fan base is a little larger. You have a lot of people that travel from New York City to come to New Jersey via train to come watch shows. So you get those people in the building, and with social media, you're able to follow that new star you just seen for the first time tonight. And it gets them more bookings because it gets them more exposure. And, we have a YouTube channel that we try to put as much content on there as possible, whether it's pre-show promos where they're cutting against each other, highlights of the show, their backstage interviews during the show and after the show. We got like all that on there. We've even done a couple like video montages of the actual card itself. So we, it's fun. It's stressful. It's not easy. There is a million companies running, so I don't want to say that we're in competition with any of them because I don't believe that, we're an all-women's company. We're not in competition with any company in the state of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, anywhere in the Northeast or Mid-Atlantic. We're in competition with our last show. We're in competition with minor league baseball. We're in competition with the movie theater because that's where you can go and have affordable family entertainment. Wrestling is part of that. That's the market that I'm trying to cater to. That's my competition.
I love that so much. The fact that your entire goal here, like your whole company here is just female driven and female built. I mean, like female based. I love that so much. What pushed you in that direction to put your focus on females? Because I know that like wrestling sports in general tend to be, excuse the vernacular, but kind of a sausage fest, so there's not a lot there out for women. And I mean, as an athletic woman myself who loves to see empowered, strong women, like there's nothing more exciting to me than a company that puts their focus on making the women the key players. So what pushed you in that direction?
Well, I guess it would have to. I'd say it started in 1994. First year, I started coaching co-ed softball, and I did it for 23 years. In those days, we needed to have a minimum of 5 girls on the team out of the 10, so half the year lineup was female. As years went on and less females started playing softball, it got dropped down to like maybe 3, maybe 4, but our team always had 4 or 5 in the lineup because that's how much talent that we had. That kind of carried over to me starting in 2012 when I started this company. I started podcasting just like you guys. I started as a podcast. I would go to these conventions, promote and market myself at the conventions, not only to the wrestling fan base, but to the wrestlers themselves and promoters and vendors. And, you just observe what's going on and learn what goes on at a convention. And then you see that at these wrestling conventions, like you said, it was a sausage fest. It was, 10 to 1, male to female. And that's the way the wrestling industry is, unfortunately. It's a male-driven business. And for every 10 male wrestlers, you get that one female wrestler. And when I decided to start vending and bringing in talent and showcasing talent, my goal was to get the female talent more exposure. And, the next unique, and when I say unique, meaning like different new talent that I bring in, is going to be my 155th unique talent since 2013. I'm well over two. I'm like in the 250s because I bring in like I've worked with Bob Orton like 10 times. I worked with Eric Bischoff like 5. But I'm talking about like uniques, meaning like the first time we ever worked with somebody. And I'd say added at 155, about 95 to 99 of them have been female. So that's where and look, and it's not a sexist statement. The next thing that comes out of my mouth, sex sells. Bottom line.
Listen, it does. It does. We have an whole entertainment industry that proves it.
And want to pay to see a beautiful woman. Right. Women want to pay to see beautiful women. Mm. So guys aren't going to pay to see a beautiful man. So, okay, okay, it doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm not going to be paying $100 to go see Ric Flair. It's just not going to happen. Okay, but they'll go see Thunder Rosa. They'll go see Jordan Grace. They'll go see Charlotte Flair. You'll see stuff like that. So you started absolutely. You started seeing more. I have not worked with her. I've met her on a couple of occasions. She's a sweetheart. I actually booked her. I'm not sure if it's a boyfriend or her fiance. Demios.
He's awesome.
I booked him for WrestleCade a couple of years ago. So he's cool. But it just works out that way. But we kind of specialized at the beginning. We would bring in one nice name. So the very first convention I ever brought talent, I brought a couple of ECW guys, get myself in the door, get myself established, let other promoters and show promoters realize that we're here for real. We're not just here to cash grab, that we're going to be in it for the long term. So after that, the first shows I did in New Jersey, we brought in Bob Orton. That was our go-to. This was back in 2014. And then we brought in former NWA Women's Champion Casey Carlisle, which a lot of people don't remember her from, back in the day. So she was kind of our first female we brought in. Then in 2015, we worked, before anybody even knew who they were, we worked with the likes of Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace, Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, Howard Dead, Tasha Steeles, Sonny Kiss, like you name it. And these are all while they're still on the indies. Now they've all gone on and have remarkable careers. Right. Where every time I see them or I work with them, we laugh because it's like, I'm kind of like, oh, my kids are all grown up and excited. And I mean, we worked with Jessica Carr, who's a referee with WWE when she used to wrestle as Kennedy Brink. Wow. We worked with Aja Pereira, who's a referee for WWE, Aja Smith. So we worked with tons of these people. The first convention that Camille Brickhouse, the current NWA World Women's Champion, ever worked was with us in 2018 at WrestleCon in New Orleans when she still used to wrestle as Camilla Kane. And she was the first convention she ever did. So, I'm not saying like I went out there and I just scouted all these like really cool people and eventually they became superstars. The only one I could really say that about is Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is originally from the West Coast. We brought her to the East Coast. It took us a year and a half to talk her into coming here because she really felt like she didn't want to come here and sit at a table and nobody would know who she was.
Right.
She was shy. She didn't really have that self-confidence that people would know who she is. And I said, leave that to us. We'll take care of that. You have a YouTube influence. We'll make sure everybody knows that. And we promoted the hell out of her. She came here for a New Jersey show for the first time. She just knocked it out of the park. She put us over like $1 million on social media. People started linking us all together, and we've been working with her ever since. And I can honestly say, I think she's done pretty good for herself.
That's incredible. That's so
And
incredible.
I'm working with her again August 20th again. So Thunder Rosa will be back with us in New Jersey.
I worked with her younger son back in the day on the podcast.
Anakin.
And what's that?
Anakin?
Yes, Anakin. He tricked us when he made a promo for us. It's fun. This is a funny story. He made a promo for the podcast for Dudes at Ringside when he was coming on. He did it all in Spanish. So me and my former co-host were watching it because we could watch it, the video people send us. And I'm like, save. I can't hear it because you can't. The speaker won't go on Instagram for some reason. So I saved it. I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my god, Peter, like Bob's Burger style. Oh my god. Oh my god. He's speaking all in Spanish, and my co-host like, Joe, you're gonna have to get your dad. We're gonna make trouble. And I'm like, do I have to get my dad? And I showed him the promo. He's like, do you think you need me? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's tricking us. Came on the screen. He started talking 3 or 4 things in Spanish, and then tricked you guys. Ha ha. I speak English. I was like, dude, bro, really? And he's like, I like to play around. I'm sorry. And I'm like mother, like son.
Oh yeah, you have no idea. There's times where Thunder Rosa and she'll stay. At one time, she stayed here for almost a month at my house. She flew in for like 5 signings over a weekend, and I was like, all right, just let me know when your flight is home, and we'll get you to the airport or whatever. And she's like, oh, okay. So she hands me an itinerary, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you're leaving in 25 days? And she's like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you. I'm like, no, damn it! Now I gotta go to the supermarket. I'm like, you eat too much.
Oh my god.
She eats like a 300-pound man. She is
athletic women.
A physical specimen, that woman. And it's not that she don't put the hard work into the gym. She does. She's an animal. But she can out eat anybody I know.
Oh my gosh. Let me ask you a question about backstage. If this is off limits, you can say off limits, and I'm not going to reveal because I know I do theater. I get like the whole third wall thing. So if it's off limits, just say so. What's the vibe like backstage? I feel like there's got to be like some Spice Girls playing or some like Janet Jackson. There's a little dancing. Like I imagine it's like the vibes are immaculate back there.
Well, I don't dance, so danced twice at my own wedding, and that was our dance. And then I couldn't even tell you what the second dance was. It was something slow, but I don't dance. So my feet are made for sports, and that's about it. They don't shuffle. I don't even know. I'm trying to just. I like you mean like I don't have any drama. Like there's no drama. Like I don't.
Okay.
A lot of the crap that you read online is just that. It's crap. When it comes to certain talents having beef with each other, a lot of this stuff is just internet-driven propaganda to get people clicks and likes and views, and and mutants online that have nothing better to do with their time, like Dave Meltzer. But yeah, so we don't really have. There's really not like we the car rides are great. You know, I guess you call that our backstage area because we spend more time in the car than we actually do at a venue. And you know, if the talent's awake or not eating, the conversations are usually good. You know, it's just it's never like it's not like a high school, you know, Mean Girls episode. It's just I build up a rapport with the talent, you know, and I always tell them when I'm trying to sell them on a booking, I said, you know, I'll tell them like, you know, look, we're gonna treat you better than family, and then they'll kind of like, and I'm like, well, I don't really like my family, so I'll treat you better than my family. So then it, you know, it breaks the ice to get a kick out of it, and then they come here and they have a blast. You know, we take care of them. And look, we're all about making money. I mean, the bottom line, everybody's about making money. The talent's going to get their money regardless of the situation, whether they make $1 or a gazillion dollars, they're still going to get paid. But my whole focus is on making sure that they enjoyed their stay. You know, whether it's taking them places to eat where they're going to be comfortable, not forcing them to eat crap or taking them off their diet or their routines. Just surrounding them with the help that I have that are 100% professional. They're not fanboys. They're not fangirls. They're not looking to get paid to stand next to a celebrity. They're there to work. And we protect them. You know, when they're at the conventions, we don't let the weirdos get close. We don't let the inappropriate contact. We don't. You wear out your welcome at the table. You'll be told to leave. If I'm turning $20 away, I'm turning $20 away because I don't need the talent to feel uncomfortable while they're there, whether it's for 35 seconds or 35 minutes. It don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and it's the respect. You know, it comes back. It goes back and forth. So, and this is why I've been very blessed to work with the likes of Thunder Rosa numerous times. You know, I'm like her go-to agent, unofficial go-to agent. Anytime, you know, she wants to do a booking, she calls me. She's like, "Hey, you want to go do this booking together?" And well, I should actually say, she doesn't usually ask me in question form. It's more like, "Hey, Kevin, we're gonna go do this booking here. Are we? Yeah. Oh, okay." So
it's a
that's
question
how I wound up in wrestling.
at the end.
Yeah, and it's not really a question. It's not really a question. I wasn't even going to do a WrestleCon in LA this past April, and she called me and told me we were doing it. And I'm like, "Oh, we are?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm like, I know I'm almost 50, but did we have this conversation and I forgot?" She's like, "Oh, no. I'm just telling you now." And I'm like, "Oh." And then it clicked. I was like, "Oh." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm going to LA. She's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Thunder Rosa said so." She's like, "Oh, of course."
The talent makes the rules, and that's that.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, you know. I mean, unfortunately, you know, everybody has some bad experiences with talent. I can honestly say, in 11 plus years, we've only had 2 bad experiences with talent. And I don't want to speak ill of them. It might have been just a bad weekend for them, you know. And I've never gave them a second shot to redeem themselves, and we'll leave it at that. One of them is deceased, so we don't want to speak about him. You know, we just lost a member of our alumni family, and Mike Halleck, aka Mantar. We worked with him. We actually are the ones that dragged him out of retirement. He was out of the wrestling scene for almost 9 years.
Wow.
And dragged him out like literally like right after COVID, like stuff started opening up, like 50%, 60%, whatever it was. We brought him and Thunder Rosa in together to do 6 signings across 4 states in 3 days.
Wow.
And
wow.
Remember, I drove him back to the airport, and he was like, I was like, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah, good." He's like, "Good." He's like, "I had a good time, bro." He's like, "But how the hell you guys do this every other weekend? I'm tired." I'm just like,
I don't know how
you know, I mean, I don't do it as bad now. During COVID, we had to do a lot of that because the only thing we were able to do was like store signings and virtual signings. That was like really the only thing we were able to do. And it had to be a nice day because like if we did a store signing and it was raining out, people literally had to stand outside in the rain or they weren't coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because we were only allowed to have 2 or 3 in at a time, they had to leave, let 2 or 3 more in, and you know. So it was a challenge, but you know, we had stores in Queens, we had stores in Albany, Holyoke, Massachusetts, Butler, New Jersey. We were doing virtuals. My dining room became a virtual studio They changed my entire dining room into a studio just for the virtual signings.
Wow.
Thanksgiving dinner consisted of everybody eating with my gigantic 12 by 14 D365 banner on the wall. So everybody had to eat. So that was interesting family photos.
Repeat, people.
So people are like, oh, let's take a picture of the turkey. I'm like, well, spin the camera so the banner gets in the background. But you know, you have to evolve. If you don't evolve, you're going to die in this industry, in any industry. But you know, more importantly, this industry. If you don't evolve, you're going to become irrelevant and disappear. There's going to be people out there that are going to try to sabotage. You're going to have people out there that are going to try to tarnish your name, slander you, slander your business, say everything that they could possibly do to drag you down. You know, whatever reasons. I don't know what the reasons are. I don't know if they're jealous. I don't know if they're incapable of doing the crap themselves. They don't like to see people progress. They don't like to see success. I don't know what it is. I honestly, I don't care. My bottom line is for me to grow every year, grow, whether it's my revenue growing, whether it's my roster size growing, my reputation from within the wrestling industry of people referring other wrestlers to me because of word of mouth. That's when you know you kind of got your not just your feet in the door, you got your whole body in the door, and the door is now closed behind you, and you're moving forward. Is when you have wrestlers referring your name to other wrestlers who just became free agents that now are looking for booking options because they didn't have that when they were working for certain companies that they weren't allowed to do that. And then you're getting phone calls saying, hey, you know, so-and-so told me to give you a call about booking opportunities and things like that. It's a good feeling, you know, whether we get to sit down and actually get something on paper is another thing. Expectations and reality sometimes are very two different things. So, but I wear a million hats, dude. Like you're wearing one hat, I wear like 16 hats.
I have lots of hats in my room, so it kind of makes me feel comfortable.
16.
I'm looking at lots of hats. So my last question for you, Kevin, if there was a kid, male or female, that wants to get in the wrestling business either as a wrestler or a male or female, I said
no, female. Only female.
Female, a young female, like about 18, 19, that wants to get in the wrestling business either as a wrestler or announcer or commentary, what kind of advice would you give them?
Go to college. Number one, don't rely on wrestling to be your go-to bill payer. You need a fallback. So go to college. You can wrestle, commentate, broadcast. You can do all that stuff while you're in college. There's no reason why you can't do both. Get yourself a college education if you can. You know, everybody has that luxury, but if you can, do it. Get yourself a degree. Get yourself a career. Have wrestling as that second option. If wrestling works out, it's going to work out. But just like professional sports, 10% of every student athlete that graduates from college goes on to play professional sports. That's a very, very small number. You know, it's 1 out of 10. So you have to have a fallback just in case. And your fallback should be a career. Wrestling should be secondary. If it happens to be something that becomes your primary, that's great. I'll use an example. Veda Scott, who is a broadcaster for, I think, NWA. She's done ROH stuff, things like that. She's also a professional wrestler as well. Not many people know that Veda Scott is a lawyer. She went to law school. So she's a licensed barred lawyer. So when her wrestling career is over, that's what she's going back to. So that's something I would say. But find a school. Find a good school. Don't just fall for the, hey, give me $100 every other week and then you can work out in the ring with my roster. That's not a school. You want somebody who's going to train you the basics. And I'm talking about like the amateur basics. If you didn't wrestle in school, high school, college, whatever it is, you need to learn the basics. So that's your first thing. If you go to a school and they're not teaching you the basics of amateur wrestling, then you're not learning how to do it correctly. So you got to go to a school. You got to learn the basics of wrestling. You need to learn the psychology of wrestling. And then you can decide, hey, do I want to stay a wrestler or do I want to become a referee? Do I want to be a broadcaster? Because now you understand the psychology. You understand ring presence. You understand what they're thinking in the ring. You can predict what's going to happen as a broadcaster. You can predict what's going to happen in the ring without actually knowing what they're going to do or sitting in on a conversation. You pretty much know what they're going to do because you had that in-ring experience. So I'm not saying that, if you're a podcaster and you want to get into broadcasting in wrestling to jump in the ring and get your ass kicked, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you're 18, 19 years old, not 50, if you're 18 or 19 years old and you want to get into wrestling, that's the way to get into it. Go to a school. There's a bunch of them in the state of New Jersey. There's some in New York, Pennsylvania. Like I know that the Samoans run a school in Pennsylvania. You have Monster Factory. I know Preacher runs a school in New Jersey. The Creative Pro still runs in New York. There's another one in Staten Island. So I mean, there's enough out there like for the tri-state area, But with Google, you have Google, so there's no reason for you not to be able to find the first step, which is a school. 30 years ago when you had a telephone book, if people don't know what that is, it was a big book that you trim through in alphabetical order, and you look for phone numbers. The yellow pages were for businesses, but yeah, that's the only way you were able to find out. And the thing is, you wouldn't be able to find out unless you knew the name of the place, because you couldn't just look under W for wrestling schools. You had to actually know the name of the place.
Right.
So you couldn't ask Alexa, you couldn't ask Siri, you couldn't ask Google back then. So
you pay $4 for 411.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah. And your parents get the phone bill and they lose their shit.
Yeah, exactly. Why did you call 1-800 operator 12 times this month?
Why did you call to get the movie times? You could have just bought the newspaper.
Yeah. Oh God, Daily News or Newsday or whatever. Well,
that's it. I have one more question before we go.
Yeah.
As a spectator, are you a heel or a face? Who do you prefer, heels or faces?
I prefer either one. Whoever's going to tell the best story.
I like that.
It's not about me. I sit here, I book it. I take that, I bring it to the show, and I say, look, I want you to tell this story. This is how I want the ending to portray. You do whatever you need to do in the ring to get to that point, and then make that ending look as best as you can in this amount of time. So whatever you need to do. So bottom line is, look, heel or face, it's theatrical. Okay? We know that. As long as the talent is respectful, they're respectful to each other, they're respectful to the industry, the business, Titan Enterprise, myself, it doesn't matter to me. Because it's all about telling a story. It's all about putting a smile on the fans' faces. When those fans leave and I'm standing by the door and I'm high-fiving all the fans on the way out the door and they're telling me the show was great, that's all that matters to me. If I have a fan that comes up to me and says they didn't have a good time, guess what? I'm pulling them to the side and I say, dude, what happened? What's wrong? What can we do to fix this? We've run 4 shows. I haven't had that problem. So I'm happy. We have a 5th show coming up September 16th. Like I said, Highline Arena. Doubleheader between Goddesses of War and Titan Championship Wrestling at the Highline Arena in Aberdeen, New Jersey. We're going to start announcing matches on that soon. Anybody that wants to come see us as far as like at the conventions itself, August 20th in Fairfield, New Jersey, we'll be at Wrestle Bash. We'll have AEW superstar Thunder Rosa with us, as well as former Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champion, 2-time champion, and actually the first ever Knockouts Tag Team Champion, Sarah Stock, formerly known as Sarita. She will be with us as well, and we'll be sitting right next to her former tag team partner who's wrestling Impact right now, Taylor Wilde. So we'll be doing that cool little photo op with the first ever Knockouts Tag titles. And then August 12th, we'll be in Ellerbe, North Carolina for the Giant Celebration and Tribute. We'll have the likes of, I have to look to the left side. We'll have the likes of Tugboat, Mark Henry, Rosemary, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Savannah Evans, Haku, formerly known as Danny Burch, Cowboy Bob Orton, Chuck Coates, what's this guy's name? The Beer City Bruiser, who's a big North Carolina guy. We'll have Andre the Giant's daughter, Robin Christensen. She will be there. The son of WWE Hall of Famer Big John Studd, Big Sean Studd will be there, as well as the Barbarian and the Warlord, the Powers of Pain. A lot of these wrestlers have a connection to Andre the Giant. The Impact wrestlers are going to be there, not only signing autographs, but they'll actually be part of the show. Rosemary's going to be fighting our Goddesses champion, Marie Valdomina. And Savannah Evans is going to be wrestling our Funhouse Women's champion, the Amazonian, Amanda Fuentes. Danny Burch will be wrestling as well. So it's going to be a great night. We also brought in Lainey Rosario from Florida. She's a female referee. So she's coming up to be the referee for the women's matches because we're staying true to our word. So the women's ref for the women's matches. We will also have a women ring announcer for those matches as well. So we stay true to our word there. Stay very true. I would suggest, look, everybody come out. If you're anywhere in the North Carolina area, Tennessee's a couple hours away. Georgia's a couple hours away. South Carolina, whatever it is. This is a full day of absolute wrestling craziness. Any wrestling fan, this would be, I hate to use the word, but this would be orgasmic for wrestling fans.
Well, wrestling does it that to certain.
The beginning of the day is going to consist of a museum tour for the Rankin Museum of American Heritage, where they house Andre the Giant's personal belongings that were left behind after he passed away. He owned a farm in Ellerbe, North Carolina. So when he passed away, his estate was donated to the museum. There will also be an estate tour where you can tour his farm where he lived, and they were also selling little jars of dirt from his farm that you can keep as a keepsake.
That's so nice.
We'll then have the wrestling convention that will be inside the museum. And then when you come outside after the museum and the convention, there'll be table vendors and street vendors outside selling stuff. We're going to have multiple food trucks and dessert trucks. It's going to be a whole day of events of that. Plus, that evening, because we're not done, that evening, Goddesses of War and Titan Championship Wrestling is putting on a wrestling show right in the streets of Ellerbe, North Carolina, right in front of the museum. So it's going to be a fantastic night. So you can go to Titan.
Go to Carolina, Sassy. We gotta go.
You got to go to Titan-ChampionshipWrestling.com for tickets to the wrestling show, the convention, and the tours. You can purchase the day of August 12th at the Rankin Museum of American Heritage. It's going to be a fantastic thing. And the one thing I got to make sure that I put out there, because I don't want it to be misconstrued as anything other than what we're doing this and the reason why we're doing this. Anybody who knows anything about museums knows that museums don't make money. They're a nonprofit organization. They rely on public funding, concession stand sales, gift shop sales, group sales, stuff like that. But mostly public donations, usually like the ones in Manhattan and the ones in Washington, D.C. The big corporations, they do their yearly donation and they send it to the museum, and that's how they stay afloat. When you're in a tiny little town and you're the biggest company in the town, other than a couple of mom and pop shops, you have to rely on people to come to Ellerbe, North Carolina, to come into the museum to make money. So table proceeds from the vendors, table proceeds from the table sales, the street vendor table sales, the food truck percentage of the food truck sales, and percentage of the ticket sales to the wrestling show are all getting donated. Proceeds are going to get donated to the Rankin Museum of American Heritage.
I love that so much. That's such a beautiful thing to do. Thank you for doing that. That's so kind.
And it's not only that, it's so awesome to hear.
I'm just part of it. I'm just part of a beautiful thing I was allowed to do. Leland's Auctions is one of the largest auction houses in the United States. Mm-hmm. They're the ones putting this on. I was blessed to have them come to me to involve me, bringing talent, booking wrestling for the event, which I then went to my partners at Titan Championship Wrestling to put on the wrestling show. We made some Goddesses matches, some Titan matches. We involved multiple companies, so this is not just a Titan thing like when they're wrestling. We have AML Wrestling, which is in North Carolina, owned by Tracy Myers, who runs WrestleCade once a year, Thanksgiving weekend in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We have Imperial Pro Wrestling that runs out of Tennessee by Rodney Freeman. And then I don't know the other one. There's another company also that runs out of North Carolina that's going to have featured matches on the show. So we're all coming together to make this happen, to put on a great show for the fans. And like I said, I was asked to be part of it. I contributed, whatever we could. And I'm very excited. I'm going down there a day early. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to be putting tape all over the streets to map things out where things got to go and just get it ready. And just hope that that fans understand that this is probably, something that they might never see again in their life, this whole day of wrestling events. It's not something that happens very often.
Right. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's something that I would definitely, I'm honestly going to check my calendar and see if that's a weekend that I could take a trip down, because that sounds like an incredible event. Sounds like an amazing thing to support. I'm really, this sounds super dope. Listen, if we have viewers that can't make it there, but would love to support the event, is there a link that they can donate, maybe directly to the museum, or any other way that they can support without having to physically be there? We do have some fans internationally that might not be able to make it.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go to I think it's the rankinmuseum.org. If not, just Google the Rankin Museum. It'll pop up immediately in Ellerbe, North Carolina. And they have a link where you can donate. They also have where you can purchase stuff that says Rankin Museum on it. Like they have their own online shop. And then I'm sure they're gonna have extra things after the show is over, probably some extra 8x10s that we're all gonna donate and they can sell on their website to bring in more proceeds to the museum. And look, it's the 30th anniversary of the passing of Andre the Giant. So this is something that is near and dear, not only to the museum but the town itself. That town welcomed Andre the Giant in like family. He had a farm there. He loved his farm, especially the later days of his life where he was away from wrestling. The stories that will be told by the locals about Andre the Giant, the stories that are going to be told by the wrestlers that are going to be there that worked with Andre the Giant. I mean, Chuck Coates, who's a North Carolina guy, a lot of people don't really know who he is. He's one of those enhancement talents. Barry Horowitz will also be there speaking enhanced talents. Guys like Barry Horowitz, he wrestled Andre back in the day. Chuck Coates, he wrestled Andre back in the day. I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Let me look real quick. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Because now that I said Barry Horowitz, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Did you see me the tap on the back? Horowitz.
Yeah.
Yes. He was.
He had a trademark, Angela,
yeah.
that he had his handprint on the back of his shirt, so he would do this all the time before a match. It was so funny.
If you remember, Andre the Giant had the big handprint on the front.
On the front,
yeah. And it said Andre in script when you used to be able to buy your WWF merchandise in the magazines.
Yes.
But,
oh my gosh.
All these guys have a connection. Haku was the tag team champions with Andre the Giant when they were a colossal connection. Ted DiBiase, when Andre defeated Hulk Hogan for the WWF title, Andre sold the belt to $1 Million Man, right. Which set off a history of events. WrestleMania 4 for the tournament that decided the WWF champion, which went on to be Macho Man, the late Macho Man Randy Savage, who won that. It set up a big chain of events that went on because of that particular moment. Oh, I did forget one. John Nord, formerly known as the Berserker, will also be there.
How the Huss.
Yes. Who I was forgetting somebody. So, but we'll be posting. I'll send you guys the updated poster once it's out. Unfortunately, we had to cancel Jerry King Lawler for health reasons. Canceled a lot of his events. So, he couldn't come. And also we had Andrew Everett, who was supposed to be there as well, wrestling on the card. But Andrew got an opportunity to wrestle with AEW, which is going to be 55 minutes away in North Carolina. And by all means, that would be stupid not to take that opportunity. That could lead to something huge for his career.
Hell yeah.
Totally.
Thank you so much for coming on with us. It was so nice getting to know you. It was so nice talking to you. This has been such a great experience. I definitely will be seeing you at one of the shows that's coming up, either August or September, because girl power. I'm all about supporting women, especially in wrestling.
Please.
So I'm excited to meet you in person.
Yeah.
September 16th, if you can make it to the women's show. I mean, there's a lot of things I can offer when it comes to running shows in New Jersey, especially in the Aberdeen area, because we're going to be right smack in the middle of Monmouth County and Old Bridge County. We're right near the Mattawan train station, walking distance from the Mattawan train station. But there's some fantastic pizza in the area of where we're going to be. One of them, I have to be a little biased. One of them is my sponsor, Esposito's. But I wouldn't have a sponsor unless I would not have a sponsor unless they were absolutely freaking delicious.
Because, I trust you. You're from Staten Island. I trust you.
Right. It took me 2009. It took me about 4 or 5 years to find pizza I trust, and I literally have 6 different pizzerias that I go to depending on the type of pizza that I want. Because for some reason, one pizzeria in New Jersey can't make all good pizza. They make one good pizza, and then you got to go somewhere else to get a different type of pizza. Like at Grandma's Sicilian, you go here. You want margarita, you go here. You want regular slices, you go here. If you want Italian food, you go here, but don't eat that pizza. I mean, it's just it's just same thing with bagels. It's like it's mind-boggling. Bagels and Italian bread. Anytime I go back into Staten Island, if I'm really feeling nuts, because anybody who drives through Staten Island has to be. I go there. I come home with like 3 large pies from Joe and Pat's, a couple of loaves of Italian bread, and a dozen bagels, and everything gets frozen.
Well, I'm in Brooklyn, so if you're ever in the mood for like L&B, let me know and I'll send you one.
Hey, L&B, I only eat the Sicilian. I won't eat anything else in there. I feel like everything else in that place is terrible, but L&B is good. Roll and Roaster. Ah, Jesus, oh my God.
If I'm
you should go to Roll and Roaster with the talent.
we go to the show. Angela's gonna grab the Roll and Roast and be like, "We got it."
Just do a Roll and Roast. Do a Roll and Roast, a show at Roll and Roast. But we used to go to Queens for a big event and then drive home and stop at Roll and Roaster. And then they had the deals that if you spend over $30, you get a free pizza. Now I think it's $40. And literally, like the talent of I'll get roast beef, I'll get this, I'll get that, blah blah blah, and it's like $27. And I'm like, seriously, guys? I'm like, give me a Snapple. I want that free pizza.
I love that. I love it. I'll have to bring you Roll and Roaster on the 16th.
Oh my God, dude! Please, roast beef, cheese, and pickles. Good.
The only way.
We would like to thank you so much, Kevin, for taking this opportunity to come on the podcast with myself and Sassy. I'm Joe Panther III.
And I am Sassy.
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm Kevin S. Nessa of Damage 365 Promotions and Goddesses of War Wrestling. And I appreciate you guys, the twins at Ringside Podcast with the I got to say, with the sexy Joe Panther.
Oh my gosh.
And we will catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Peace out.